I think we can go ahead and get started with the presentation. We're just going to go around and introduce ourselves. My name is Emma Givens, and I'm a senior in biological systems engineering. Some things I'm involved on campus are Greek life, I do undergraduate research, and I love just getting active and being around the town.
Hi, I'm Bernie Seaplack. I'm a junior here in computer engineering, specializing in networking and cybersecurity. I'm involved in the Corps of Cadets and the Naval RTC unit here. And some of my interests, there's a human center here, which is like a cybersecurity center, really involved in that, and a bunch of cyber teams on campus.
Hey guys, my name's Abby. I'm a fourth year student on a 5-year track because I actually, tried to study abroad last spring and COVID kind of messed that up, but happy to be here and I'll be helping out with some of the questions that you guys have, so I'll kind of be in the background. But I am a fourth year student in aerospace engineering, so if you have any questions about aerospace and ocean, totally, happy to help out. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy the presentation.
All right, we're going to open up with what it takes to be an engineer here at Virginia Tech. These are 5 sort of unofficial prerequisites that a lot of our successful students have. It's good if you're creative, when you're a creative problem solver and you work well on a team, or at least you'll learn to work well on a team. And if you don't have good study habits already, you're going to definitely pick up some good study habits if you come here to Tech. There's lots of resources to learn how to build good study habits. Obviously, an interest in math and science is good to have if you're going into engineering. And if not an interest in math and science, at least liking one or the other and not hating the other.
Hey, Emma, I can't see your slides.
Oh, let me double check that. Sorry about that, guys. Can you see them now?
1 sec. There we go. We're good.
Okay, cool. So here are the 5 unofficial prerequisites to be an engineer at Virginia Tech. I had mentioned up to interest in math and science and left off on challenging high school background. One thing Virginia Tech looks for when they're considering applicants is that you have a diverse and challenging high school background in the context of where you went. So you don't have to take every AP class under the sun, but they like to see that you at least had some challenging classes and tried to your best of your ability to challenge yourself academically.
All right. As you can see from our class of 2019, we come from a very diverse background here at Virginia Tech. The average reported GPA was around a 4.0 and out of 5. Those are the average SAT math and reading scores. We are 23% female and 26% underrepresented minority. So as you can see, we bring a lot to the table, but again, emphasis on what Emma was saying, that it does help to have a challenging curriculum and to excel in that. That's what we like to see at Virginia Tech.
Right, so if you've toured any other schools or looked online, something that's kind of common across engineering colleges is this general engineering course. And on top of having a general engineering course, we have this curriculum for all freshmen where you come in as a general engineer, and then sophomore year, you can declare which specific type of engineering you'd like to major in. There's common entry point and classes, which also feel free to scan any of these QR codes to have a link with more details. But these entry point classes really give everyone a solid base. So regardless of which high school you went to or what your background knowledge is, you get to take classes that will set you up to be successful in whichever engineering you choose. As far as AP, IB, dual enrollment credit, we have a very good database on which have been accepted in the past and which ones will transfer in. Not only your typical calc classes, Calc 1, Calc 2, Chem, but also history, English, and other electives that you can use toward your overall credits and your liberal arts credits as well, which are pathways is a curriculum that includes a total of 45 credits over 7 core concepts. And I think it's really cool. It's one thing I really liked about Virginia Tech's engineering. It allows you to explore other types of classes. Like, for instance, I took Introduction to Detective Fiction, and it forces you to kind of step outside of your comfort zone a little and take some fun classes. And then, as I said, at the end of your freshman year, you get to choose the major you want to pursue. If you have at least a 3.0, you are guaranteed whichever engineering you want to get into. And if that means that Virginia Tech has to hire more faculty and staff to accommodate a higher population of students, they will do so. But if you don't get into the one you wanted initially, it'll work out for you as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Emma. One thing that we forgot to mention, if y'all have any questions, feel free to put it in the Q&A section. If literally just stop us at any time and we'll do our best to answer. So your first year, as Emma mentioned, you are considered in general engineering, so you don't really pick a specialization. So this is actually extremely helpful because it gives you a lot of different ideas as to what the different majors are. And we'll get into the different majors in a second. But one of the classes that you're required to take is Foundations of Engineering. So it spans over 2 semesters, so 1 full year, and you're learning a baseline skills that all engineers are supposed to have. So for example, I'm a computer engineer. I do a lot of stuff with circuits, but we were learning CAD and MATLAB, for example. So you get to gain access to a lot of tools your first semester. And then your second semester, you actually work kind of on a design team where you're developing a project that you work on over that semester, and you have write-ups and stuff like that. And it teaches you critical thinking, problem solving, just essential skills of an engineer.
Yeah, and another cool thing about that class is that you get introduced to the Frith Lab, which I believe is pictured there, and you can actually get certified in power tools and laser cutting, whatever you want. It's a good introduction to the hands-on curriculum at Virginia Tech.
I'm a quick question for you. By the way, Sylvia, we'll get to those questions, especially core cadet stuff. I'll explain that at the end. But for Emma, can freshmen participate in undergrad research?
Yes, absolutely. We do talk about that a little later, but one thing that's great about Virginia Tech is that no matter what level you're at, there's a portal online that lists a lot of different research that's going on, and it's as simple as just reaching out, emailing the professor that you're most interested in the research, and asking if there's anything you can do. As a freshman, that might just be on a volunteer basis, but it would definitely be a good thing to reach out and maybe grow into a paid position or credit position. But yes, I would say definitely.
And then I'll answer your question, Sylvia, once we get into our majors a little bit more, because it'll make more sense after we talk about a little bit more of our opportunities in engineering.
All right, yeah, so here's just a pie chart breaking down the whole engineering class. You'll see there's a big chunk in engineering education. That's because that is the general engineering group. But other than that, you can definitely see mechanical as a huge major, but even some of the smaller majors are growing. Opportunities at Virginia Tech.
I just wanted to ask you guys a question. What are some classes that I should take my senior year of high school to prepare for engineering at Virginia Tech?
Ooh, that's a good question. For me, I came from a liberal arts high school, so coming in with STEM stuff, it wasn't challenging because I took a bunch of AP. I took AP calculus. If you can test out of that, I would highly recommend it. Your English classes, just trying to take your gen eds would be probably the most helpful in terms of gaining technical knowledge, I took a class online that I don't know if your high school does this, but I took a class where it was just like through Coursera, and I got class credit for it on, I think, like computer architecture. I thought it was fascinating. So if you can find something like that, it's also just like studying on your own. If you want to like study about things that interest you, you know.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, Bernie. On my side of things, I went to a really small high school. I'm from Rhode Island, and I didn't really have many options at all. We only had like one physics course, so I felt kind of behind, but in actuality, I was not behind because I placed out of my English because I took AP English language. And like Bernie said, just read about things on your own time, figure out what you're interested in. Like, I knew I loved biology, and just explore different subjects while you can. And whoever's reviewing your applications will appreciate that diverse background.
And then another question was, do you think the semester schedule is better than the quarters? So I think they're talking about, having 2 semesters a year instead of 4.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't know any different. It's fine. There's no particular problem. So we can bang out those last two. How many students are typically in a freshman engineering classroom? Freshmen, the foundations of engineering are typically smaller, so they're like 30 to 40. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's about right. And then your big gen eds will probably be not with COVID, say 100, 200 people. And then are there study abroad programs? Yes, and we'll get to that.
Yep. And to add on to the big lecture hall situation, there are smaller breakouts, like with your TA, which is about 20 students or so, and it lets you really clarify any questions you don't want to ask in front of 20 people. But.
Absolutely. All right. Opportunities. So in the engineering department in general, there are a lot of really cool opportunities for you. There are a lot of engineering minors. So for example, if you wanted to say do mechanical engineering, but you kind of liked cybersecurity or computer science, you could do that. Again, any list here. You can also do undergraduate research, as Emma was mentioning, and I'm sure she'll get into that, and study abroad as well. You have professional societies like IEEE, which is, I can't even remember the acronym, but it's for, I think, electrical engineers specifically. And then just other engineer organizations. We also have design teams like Bolt and, let's see, you have one where there's a electric powered motorcycle. There's an electric car. Emma, can you help me out? What are some other?
We actually have a slide with all of them eventually.
Oh yeah, we'll get to that.
There's a lot. But yeah, to add on to the research, when I was a freshman, there's a kind of like a career fair, but it's catered towards specifically freshmen or undergraduate design teams. And rather than try to do research my freshman year, I wanted to be involved in that. And it gave me a great background in like hands-on applications, and it was a good resume builder. So if you don't want to get involved with research just yet, you can also get involved in one of those teams.
Quick question while we're on this slide. If I graduate with an engineering major and minor, would I still be able to graduate in 4 years?
Yeah, I'm graduating with my major in BSc and then 2 minors in interdisciplinary science and engineering, along with green engineering. There's a lot of overlap, and we have great academic advisors here that help us talk about our interests and match that up with what's required to graduate. So you could definitely do that. But I would definitely start thinking about it kind of early, like at least sophomore year, so you're not cramming.
And then one more question before we move on. Having taken Calc 1 and Calc 2 and Intro to Engineering, chemistry, and algebra in community college during senior year and junior year of high school, would these credits transfer to Virginia Tech?
If they're AP, yes. Or if they're dual enrollment, yes. Or IB. Typically not honors, though.
Yeah, there's also that link, I think the QR code earlier. If you go to that, there's a big database of what is accepted and what's not. All right, if there's no more questions on that, this is a map of internships and co-ops that the dean's team alone has had and spreads across the whole country. Some vocab, a co-op is a job you'll have during a normal semester, so that could be a fall semester or spring semester. And internship is normally over the summers or one of the winter break, which coming from high school, your college winter break is actually really long. It's awesome. So if you choose to pursue an internship during that period, it's a good opportunity to do so. But there's lots of big companies, small companies, lots of opportunities.
Career fairs. This is a great perk of being at Virginia Tech because companies like Virginia Tech students. They will come to Virginia Tech just to hire Hokies. There are two main fairs. There's the Engineering Expo in the fall, which is like over 300 companies come just to talk to Hokies. And then there's Cameo, which is in the spring, which is a little bit smaller in case you haven't gotten an internship. I can speak for myself that what's awesome about career fairs is you just get to throw your hat in a bunch of, or throw your name in the hat for a bunch of different companies. That's how I got my internship with a company that actually was my first pick. But again, I didn't think that I would get it. And as a matter of fact, the people there didn't think I would get it just because what I wanted and what their mission set was different. But I ended up getting lucky. So if you come to Virginia Tech, definitely come to the career fairs and definitely use that as a time to learn and to sell yourself, but also as a way to possibly get internships.
Yeah, totally, Bernie. I know my freshman year, I was so nervous, but I ended up getting an internship out of it as well. When I think it's really special that we have these great opportunities. All right, GALILEO and HYPATIA. So these are the engineering living learning communities on campus. These are communities you can live in your freshman year or later if you'd like. And GALILEO is the male version, HYPATIA is female. It's a living learning community that has all engineers. It's based out of Hogue Hall, and it gives you multiple benefits. I lived there as a freshman and I loved it. It was really cool to be surrounded by other engineers at such an awkward transition where we're all getting used to the new college life. You get mentors that actually live down the hall from you, and you'll meet weekly, bi-weekly, whatever you guys decide after the initial intro period. There's academic support, social events, professional networking events. We did this thing called Slush Rush, where every Friday they would bring in professors that do research or alumni, different Hokies that are great resources for getting involved in career paths or research, or just to talk about things we all like. On top of that, there's some service learning projects, and it's a great way to feel more integrated with the community.
All right, peer mentoring and STEP. I don't know too much about STEP, but I do know about peer mentoring. So that it's great because it's a way to kind of get yourself more accustomed to engineering life. So basically, similar to what Emma was saying, where GALILEO and HYPATIA, you get a mentor. Peer mentoring works. You sign up for it. It's called Seed, and then you just get assigned to a mentor with a group of engineers that are interested in the same engineering type. So, for example, I got a mentor, and then all of the freshmen that were with me were interested in computer engineering. It's great because you get free food, You get to learn about like study habits. We did a resume workshop. It's all completely optional. So if you don't have time, that's fine. But if you do have time, I'd highly encourage it. It's a great way to get started. And then STEP is like a summer program where you start taking the first how many weeks of
It's 5 weeks of calculus, chemistry, and then that Foundations of Engineering course.
so it's enough to get you to about your first test, especially in chemistry, um, and those tough classes, so that you can sort of understand the workload. But at the end of it, none of it none of it counts against you. So if you do poorly, you'll know sort of what you're getting into when the semester starts. Again, I didn't do it, but I've heard people who have done it and they really enjoyed their time.
Yeah, they were like the only ones who did really well on the first test in my class.
That first chemistry test was brutal.
Yeah. Less brutal if you do STEP, apparently. I forgot to add something about Galileo and Hypatia. If any of you are even thinking that you'd like to live there, you have to apply as early as possible because it does fill up. And there's also a small class that comes along with this living learning community, which is really just a grade booster and a morale booster for starting your time here at Virginia Tech. And it forces you to go to the engineering expo, build a resume, write cover letters, things that at the time I thought were just a nuisance, but then a week later helped me get a good job. All right, hands on, minds on. This is one of Virginia Tech's mottos, and this is the design team slide that Bernie was thinking of. This is just a handful of design teams. We have so many here, but we also have a lot just out of the WARE lab, which you can see here. I think that's the human-powered submarine in the upper right, Bolt. And it's really just a great opportunity to take what you learn in class and put it to use in a fun setting that ends up with some really cool projects. The one I was part of freshman year was called NASA Micro-G, and we made this apparatus to fill a hole in a spacecraft for NASA. And then some of us actually got to go to their facility and test it. And this was something as a freshman, I don't know where I would have that opportunity other than here. But yeah, you can also go on the website and just look at some of the cool things that design teams do here.
Can you stay on that slide for a second, Emma?
Yeah.
Yeah. And what's so amazing is that this is not an exhaustive list by any stretch of the imagination, because although there are WARE lab design teams, there are also, for example, computer engineering design teams that are specific to your major. And again, it doesn't necessarily, and a lot of them are not, you don't have to be part of that major to be a part of that design team, but more, there are plenty more that are open to you than this. All right, this is our brag sheet. This is a humble brag, stuff that we're proud of. U.S. News and World Report, 13 best undergraduate program, 31st best graduate program, and then we have the seventh producer of engineer, like top seventh producer of engineers, and eighth producer of women engineers for a bachelor's degree. So again, stuff we're proud of, and yeah.
Again, outcomes. This is a statistic that we're also really proud of, and that's pretty unique. 90% of the freshmen who come to Virginia Tech and declare as engineering continue as an engineer their second year on. It just shows how supportive of a curriculum you have your first year and how many resources there are to keep you enthusiastic about sticking with the program. Then after graduation, 74% are employed and 13% are going to attend graduate school or already accepted their offer there. Median salary is $70,000. There's some major specific salaries on our website as well.
scholarships, this is also a perk of Virginia Tech. So you have a lot of scholarship opportunities for you. There's the Davenport Leadership Scholarship, the Pratt Engineering Scholarship, and then financial aid. So the first two are, I think, merit and needs based, and financial aid is obviously needs based. But then there are just a whole lot of different options for scholarships. Now, there may not be that many when you get here initially. However, this wide is extremely open once you get here, because at that point we have a scholarship portal where you can literally look at hundreds of scholarships, and there's only one application. Sometimes for individual scholarships you have to like write an essay or something like that, so it makes them a little bit different, but it's very convenient to see them all in one place. And I can definitely say I've picked up a couple of scholarships just from writing essays and stuff like that. So if you need the help or would like the help, it's definitely here for you.
Yep, and off of what Bernie was saying, when you get to be an upperclassman and are in your specific major, the departments are smaller, and a lot of alumni are more apt to donate back to their own department. So there's lots of options there. Computer requirements. Bernie, you can maybe add on after, since you probably have a different requirement. But for me, I did get a computer with the inking capability, and I found it was really helpful for reading and commenting on long PDFs, which, yes, even though we're in engineering, we still have to read things. And I would say the biggest thing is just find one you're comfortable with, that's a good size and can run all the programs we have to run. But definitely wait to purchase one until the most recent required capabilities are released from Virginia Tech.
Yeah, absolutely. But take this as a sort of a guide, but don't worry about necessarily getting the latest and greatest thing. I didn't, for example, I came in and I didn't have a 2-in-1 with inking, and I found it to be a bit tougher. And then when I got a laptop with a pen, it was much better. So I definitely encourage that. But again, as long as your laptop's within, like, say, the last 3-4 years, something like that, don't worry about it too much.
Yeah.
All right, this is my wheelhouse. I don't know if you know, but the computer and electrical engineering are very intertwined. So we're going to go across the computer to electrical spectrum, is what I like to call it. So starting on the extreme circuit side, you have electrical engineering. So you are doing a lot of stuff with low-level hooking wires together on a breadboard, all that good stuff. So you're learning about AC and DC circuits, all kinds of stuff. And you have, but again, in these you have specializations. So your degree, perk of being in the computer and electrical engineering department, these will actually be your degree name. So for example, if you want a degree in photonics from the College of Electrical and Computer Engineering, you can do, or excuse me, from the Electrical and Computer Engineering department, you can do that. And so you're doing, again, a lot of low-level stuff, and so not a lot of, for example, coding, hands-on keyboard stuff, but for the people that love this is a great option for them. Moving right along, so again, this is what I love. So we're going to get to computer science on the next slide, but so if computer science is over here with like extreme focusing on basically algorithms and computer stuff and coding, and electrical engineering's on this side, which is like no coding, all circuits, very low level stuff. Computer engineering, what I love about it is that it can be like right in the middle or closer to whatever you need. So it is some circuits, it is also a lot of coding, but you can do more or less coding based upon what you like. So for example, I'm specializing in networking and cybersecurity. So I'm doing a lot of computer programming stuff, whereas someone like, for example, doing robotics and autonomy or chip scale integration is going a lot more circuits level. And actually, one more thing about computer engineering: you're not just writing code; you're also figuring out how the computer works, which I think is actually really interesting. So you're doing like a lot of logic gates and stuff like that. Now, computer science is on that complete opposite end of the spectrum. Computer science is you are writing code a lot. You're learning about, for example, Linux systems. You're writing a lot of software. You're not really learning about the internals of a computer. You're just focusing on, okay, now I have this language. How can I make this language do things that I want it to do? So again, as you can see from that list, you have a lot of different opportunities in that. Everything from computational biology and then like software engineering and systems and networking. Are your classes determined by your specialization? For example, robotics or cybersecurity? Sometimes. It really depends. So for example, in the computer engineering department, you have a primary specialization and then you have a secondary specialization. You can have an independent secondary specialization. So you can say like, I want to learn Russian, or I want to learn anything that you want to do. And then if you can explain to the engineering department why you want to do that, then you can do it. So it is specialized, but typically if you can give a reason why you want to take a class, sometimes you can get it. Sometimes not, but sometimes you can.
All right, moving along to mechanical engineering. You probably remember from that pie chart, it was the biggest engineering major at Virginia Tech, most students in it, and it is super broad. You will learn everything. You could choose to focus anything on from nuclear engineering to robotics, soft robotics, and there's lots of different labs you can take. I'm going to talk about the photographs. In the upper right, that is, I think, the Baja SAE team, and they're talking to David Wilson, who is the president of Toyota Racing, and he's also an alumni of Virginia Tech, so another great Hokie connection. The robot in the upper left, instead of having like a cheerleader do push-ups after a touchdown, they made a touchdown robot that can do push-ups, which is actually harder than it looks. But yeah, there's many different specializations you can choose in mechanical engineering, but you'll come out with a great background and the ability to go into many different career paths.
I'm going to answer a question in the chat really quick. Someone asked, how difficult is it to switch from one engineering major to another? So it really depends on obviously which major and how far you are within the major, because typically how it works is your freshman year, you're at your general engineering, so you haven't really picked which major you want to go into yet. And then your sophomore year is sort of those general requirements for that major. So it's, going into what you're interested in, but more of a broad level to figure out which different concentration path you want to go into afterwards. And then junior and senior year typically is when you go a lot more, in depth with your, niche within your major. And so, for example, it might be easier to switch from something within the electrical and computer science field, like we talked about before, from one to another. My friend personally went from electrical to computer science, and she, just added a few more credits. She had a little bit more course load because of the credits that she had already taken care of, but it's definitely possible. You just kind of have to, my advice is to just kind of keep up with your advisor once you're in engineering and figure out, what credits you already have and how it can transfer over.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, it's the proximity to one, similarity between one major and another. So again, as we were mentioning, computer science, computer engineering, electrical engineering are very similar. But if I wanted to go to, say, biomedical engineering, I might have a lot more work that I have to do. But aerospace engineering is all about planes and stuff. It's the people who do it really love it. Actually, the upper left corner is a is a Boeing jet engine that is actually suspended in Goodwin Hall. It's like if you look up, it's really cool. It's one of the cooler buildings on campus. I think Goodwin Hall is. And then we have a bunch of different opportunities for aerospace engineers. We have our own drone cage. That's what that is, to the upper right there. And then we just have all opportunities in learning propulsion, electronics, to how those electronics work in that plane, etc.
Since this is my major,
Yeah.
one more thing, just really, really small. This bottom right corner is the Design Build Fly design team, and that's a really good one if you're interested in anything related to aero or ocean engineering or anything like that, or mechanical. We had a question earlier about study abroad programs, and I kind of answered it in a way that was, we have our general study abroad programs, but we also have in major. So for me personally, I studied abroad with this in major study, it was more of an exchange program. So our aerospace department and the Department of Aerospace in a university in Hamburg, Germany, has an exchange program. So we send, 3 students over spring semester. They'll send over 3 students, the following fall semester. So that's another really great opportunity to look into and get credit for those classes that are overseas. And most of the time, if you look into it enough, you'll find that you can actually go 1 for 1. So like it doesn't set you back a 5th year. So that's also a nice benefit too.
Abby, what do you study in the aerospace field?
So I personally am going, just like this slide here, I'm going through that flight dynamics controls track. So there's 7 different options that you can do within aerospace that you can actually it'll show up on your degree, like aerospace engineering with a concentration in blank. So I'm going towards that vehicle dynamics control. So if you're a pilot, you think about, if I move the stick shift this much, what does a plane do? What do the control surfaces do? And how does that relate to all of the other systems, software, and propulsion and all those different facets. So it's pretty overarching, and which is what I like about it.
Now, the cool thing about ocean engineering is that it's actually more similar to aerospace than you think, because air and water behave similarly but with different constants. So that's a one that you can shift easily from. And ocean engineering is all about boats and how boats go. So again, just as aerospace, where you're just going through the air, so you have propulsion, how like hydrodynamics, etc.
All right, industrial and systems engineering, also referred to as ISE. I've heard it called the people engineering because you're not only engineering machines or parts, you're working on this implementation and integration of work systems that include people, information and knowledge, equipment, energy, materials, processes, there's economics involved, and there's a big management aspect of this major that makes it really good for going into a technical field. Yeah, here's just a couple of the concentrations, but the bottom right picture is the Harris Manufacturing Processes Lab, and there's it's a whole laboratory system with lots of labs and equipment, so it's a great place for ISE research to go on.
You want to take the next one, Emma?
Yeah, I can talk about chemical engineering. Chemical engineering has quite a bit of overlap with my major, which is biosystems engineering. But I think one thing that's cool about Virginia Tech's chemistry engineering in particular is that they're not only studying the qualities and chemical properties of these substances, but they're learning how to apply this along with mathematics, physics, biochemistry, biology, to problems that involve not only biopharmaceuticals or pharmaceuticals, but also consumer products, electronics, microelectronics, energy, food, and other health applications. One thing that's also special about our program is that there's an organic chemistry lab, and you can take this lab either on campus over the summer or use it as an awesome opportunity to do that in major, a broad class like Abby was talking about. The unit operations lab is in Germany or Denmark for this major, and I've heard that it is really fun.
All right, material science and engineering. This is all about composition of things. So again, biomaterials, metals, polymers, etc. It's all about figuring out the right composition for things that you want to build. So, for example, in the upper left, that's Cedric Hume. He is a player on the VT football team. He sustained an injury, and he wasn't going to be able to play in an upcoming game, but he actually tasked the material science and engineering department to come up with a cast that would allow him to play. And so that black thing on his arm is actually the cast. And so he was allowed to play in the football game. In addition, we also have in the third picture there, so that is, I'm pretty sure the bottom right picture, I think, is the foundry. So we actually have a, kid you not, foundry on campus that the material science and engineering people go to. And so that's a great, again, resource that we have at Virginia Tech.
All right, civil engineering. A lot of people, when they think of civil engineering, just think bridges, which, yes, some of them do engineer bridges, and the upper left picture is the steel bridge design team doing just that. But they also contribute to many other type of infrastructure, from like transportation systems, water supply, facilities, public facilities, and along with private sector work. We have a lot of cool labs that they have access to, and the picture in the upper right is the concrete canoe design team, which you don't normally think of canoe and buoyancy when you think of concrete, but we have engineers that are combining the two. Another cool civil engineering feat at Virginia Tech was the Flint water crisis. We had Mark Edwards, who studied the difference in water quality, and he really did a lot. And under Ut Protasum, our motto, I think there's a lot of civil engineers that carry that into their workplace when they graduate.
Construction, engineering, and management. This is actually a really interesting major. A lot of my friends are either in construction engineering or in building construction, which is another major that's similar but not exactly the same. So we have this is all about obviously building stuff, but it's also like leadership of people on the job. So you can see in the upper left there, one of the perks of being in construction engineering is that construction engineers get to wear their hard hats at graduation, which I think is really, really cool. In the right there, in the upper right, that is Shackathon, and they raised a bunch of, it's a program that construction engineering management majors do every year, and they raised over $7,000 for Habitat for Humanity, which is really cool. And then a really cool perk of construction engineering is that if you're doing that, you are 100% guaranteed to get a job with starting salaries at around $66,000, which is, again, pretty decent for that major and field.
All right, mining engineering, pretty unique major offered here. It is a lot more than just mining and digging up gems or whatever you think of when you think of mining. It provides a general background in everything related to the mining industry, from construction aggregates, coal, copper, other minerals. But also, like for instance, the biological systems department I'm in was working with the mining engineering department to kind of refurbish this mine entrance so that there were no chemicals seeping into a local community. So there's a lot of overlap in restoration along with the extraction and development of technology.
Yeah, absolutely, Emma. And a really cool perk of, or not just a perk, but just mining engineering in general. Again, a lot of people think the last thing I would ever do is do mining engineering. I have two of my friends that, because you're a general engineer when you come in, and they went to the mining engineering talk with no expectation that that's what they would do. And turns out that's what they're majoring in. So a lot of people who are in mining engineering, because it's such a small community, really like mining and they like the community. And again, perks of having smaller classes and thus a more tight knit group.
Yeah, and there's also some really cool field trips I've heard. There's a trip abroad. The bottom right is in Colombia, and then that upper left picture is the VT mining rescue team. So important jobs. All right, this is my major, biological systems engineering, and it again is really broad. Biological systems can be anything from a microscopic, it could be a cell, it could be as small as a cell, all the way to the entire ecosystem. And there's a lot of different things you can specialize at Virginia Tech, whether that's watershed science, food engineering. I chose the biotechnology route, but there's also environmental health or health professions, which you could do a minor in biomedical engineering. We do have the major, which I will talk about next. But if you don't want to fully commit, and if you want to focus more on like the tissue engineering side, like the cellular side, I would recommend doing the minor with the major in BSc. So yes, here's biomedical engineering. It's our newest major, but one thing that's really important about that is that while it is our newest major, most of the faculty had already been working for Virginia Tech, and they're all highly experienced. They really worked hard to get this major off to a good start. So you could focus on anything from the medical devices or imaging to materials, biomaterials, as well as the nanomedicine, microchips, or it's really broad, and it is smaller at this point, but it has a great backbone of faculty.
Yeah, absolutely, Emma. And the thing about biomedical engineering is it was created because Virginia Tech doesn't really have a direct pre-med track. So this was kind of meant to fill that gap. So if you're interested in pre-med, this is what I would definitely recommend.
Mm-hmm. You can just learn more about what we just talked about at this site. If you want to take a picture or whatever, I will leave that up for a second. And we like to end our presentations by answering the question, why did I come to the College of Engineering at Virginia Tech? Bernie, you want to start us off?
Sure. So I have a different reason than a lot of other people. I came to Virginia Tech because of the Corps of Cadets. I really liked the program. My number one pick was the Naval Academy. And oh my gosh, I'm glad that I'm here. Because I'm able to get a top engineering degree at one of the most accredited colleges in the US while still being at a senior military college. And we are one of the only colleges in the US that allow you to have a senior military college experience while still being part of a larger civilian institution. So I definitely really like that. And I'm so glad that I'm here.
Yeah, that's cool. My reason also is kind of different than a lot of people. I'm from Rhode Island, which is very far, and I thought I would end up at a city school in Boston or New York City, something like that. I pictured Virginia like all cows, which was so wrong. But anyway, I applied the night it was due because my uncle really liked the football team. And it was a week before I had to choose where I was going to go. I came here, toured, and I just loved it so much. It really did feel like home. And no one was competing against each other. All the students worked together and really want the best for each other. So the sense of community was really why I chose Virginia Tech.
Yeah, mine is very similar to those. I'm an out-of-state student. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, so 3 hours directly south, which is kind of nice. But Virginia Tech wasn't really on my list. Clemson was number one, but now I just love the Hokies. But I wanted to come here. I knew I was doing engineering, but I didn't know what kind. I was thinking civil at first, then mechanical. I had no idea. But I really wanted to find an environment where I could really have a great engineering, academic experience and have that sort of clout that says, hey, I'm a Hokie. But I also wanted a place that I could really excel in places outside of engineering. So, for example, I'm in a co-ed honors fraternity. I'm in a service, organization. I'm in random, Chocolate Milk Monday Club, astronomy club. There's so many different opportunities. And so, it's really been amazing just meeting the people here, and I just absolutely fell in love with the campus and the environment here. I ended up applying early decision, just completely head over heels over the school, and that feeling has not left at all. So yeah, if you guys have any more questions, feel free to put them in the question and answer. We'll answer those. And then Bernie, I think you can talk a little bit more relating to the Naval Academy and the Corps Cadets based on the questions that we had earlier.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we'll backtrack. Sylvia, I promise we'll get to your question. 1 second. Okay, why, or did I get into the Naval Academy, then choose VT, or was the opportunity not there for the Naval Academy? So I got denied from the Naval Academy. Best thing that ever happened to me. The Naval Academy is great. I love the campus. It's a beautiful place, but it is, you have a lot more freedom here at Virginia Tech while still being able to get that senior military college experience. So yes, I was denied, but again, best thing that ever happened. And by the way, we'll put our emails in the chat in a second. Please reach out to me if you have any core questions or Navy questions or Naval Academy questions. Look, Naval Academy is a great place, but I am very happy that I'm here at Virginia Tech. Let's see. What is the medical qualification for a civil career and how it differentiates from the Naval Academy medical qualification? Okay, I am not experienced in that. However, there are plenty of people that can answer that for you. So I'll put my email in the chat in a second. If you email me, I will get you in touch with somebody who can answer that question for you.
So yeah, so can you put up the QR code again, Emma, for the Explore Engineering VT? Also, you can just Google Explore Engineering at Virginia Tech, and it'll go through each individual major and describe what design teams there are, what kind of classes you're going to take, the basic, overview, different concentrations that you can go over. And then let's see, what is there at Virginia Tech and Blacksburg to explore if it isn't just cows?
That's actually a great question.
I can answer that one because actually my family moved to Blacksburg. My mom works for the school now, but definitely not all cows. Like I said, the town is actually really cool. It's really cute. There's like ice cream shops, tons of restaurants, bars when you get a little older, lots of hiking. There's lakes nearby, awesome weekend getaway spots for you and your friends. And on top of that, it's just having that great community feel and like playing Frisbee on the drill field on a nice day. Staying on campus and finding something fun to do is never hard. But if you want to explore, there's also Christiansburg, which has all of your basic like Walmart, Target, Petco, anywhere you could need to buy anything is within 30 minutes max.
Yeah, I was really into hiking in high school and then wanted to continue that. So that's another big reason is I just wanted somewhere, that was really cool place. And the mountains that we're in are absolutely beautiful. Fall and spring semester are just constantly amazing here. We're really close to Blue Ridge Mountains. I've gone on camping, backpacking trips. There's a bunch of intramural sports that you can do. The list is really, really, really long. I had a question really quick from as someone from North Carolina. NC State is very well known for engineering. What made you choose VT, which is out of state? Very good question. NC State is a great school also. I personally, when I toured the campus, I felt like it was okay, it was a good school. It was definitely on my list. I applied for it. I got accepted in it, but it wasn't something that I could see myself in. So I was interested in a program that was great, but also had that extra oomph to it. And the second that I stepped on campus at VT, it was just completely different. So for me personally, it was definitely the people and also the professors. I had the opportunity to meet a few professors and staff who worked here, and they were just so incredible and so inspiring and love to talk about, what they do, but also figure out where you can fit in with that. And I didn't really feel that at another school. And then there was a question in the beginning for someone interested in mechanical, computer, aerospace engineering, what would the best classes or path you recommend based on your experience? So mechanical, like we kind of talked about before, is more the Swiss Army knife. So if you think about it like a big umbrella, it kind of does everything. So you get to go into dynamics, thermodynamics, propulsion, so many different options that you can really concentrate on as you go through mechanical engineering. But for me personally, I thought that aerospace was something that I really was interested in and had a passion for in general. Space, like I just love space. Like growing up, I just watched all the space documentaries and all that stuff. But I really wanted to hone in those classes that you would be taking and those topics that you'd be taking and relate them to something specific. So for me personally, it's relating them to the F-35, right? And different really cool, really neat technology within the aerospace field. So if you have sort of an interest, I kind of wanted to connect my interest with my work and, love what I do, right? So that's the best advice I can give on that one. But yeah, so I hope that helps. And then one question for you guys was, how do we pay for food?
Let's see. So you get a Hokey P when you get here. It's your Hokey passport, and so you pay for bulk. Oh goodness, 1 second. Where's this going? You pay in bulk for your meals at the beginning of the semester. By the way, VT dining is like very well known in the U.S. for being good food, and I definitely agree. They're constantly developing and evolving your dining plan. It's much better than like your lunch line slop that you get. Yeah, hope that answers your question. Let's see. If I apply for early decision, I don't get accepted. Can I apply again and be considered? Pretty sure you can, right?
Well, it automatically, you don't have to go through like the whole application process or anything, but it automatically should have sent you, if you don't get accepted and you do apply early decision, it automatically should send you a message saying that, hey, you didn't get in for early decision, which is binding, but we're going to add you to the list or the wait list or something like that for the early action and then for the regular decision. So it should just do it for you, if that makes sense. And then the last one was, would you say virtual tours give the same feeling as on-campus tours? And how can you, quote unquote, fall in love with a campus without being in person? So I personally put together my own, like if you ever come on campus within the next, before you apply, during your application, whatever, I've had people reach out to me and ask what some best, places to hit are if you just go with you and your parents or you and a friend. So I actually have like a whole PDF and like key written out that I've been giving out to people. So if you would like that, I'm more than happy to share. That's my email in the chat there. I think you can see it. But being virtual, it does suck. It's different. But I think Virginia Tech has so many different videos that you just kind of have to search for relating to, what does the duck pond look like, or what does the drill field look like in the spring, and what do these different things look like, and if you are curious about what the people and environment are like, has a bunch of interviews that VT Seed, so VT and then CEED has on their YouTube. So that's a really, really, really great resource just to search through as well.
Are all of you pursuing minors in other colleges or just the College of Engineering? I'm minoring in leadership and naval leadership, one of which is in the management department, and then the other one is in the liberal arts department. They're just like they are take your core classes and your Navy classes that you have to do for leadership and make them into a minor. So yeah, you can absolutely do it, and it's not really putting a damper on my ability to graduate.
And then Emma, do you want to answer this one? How is campus life different right now during COVID?
Well, obviously, people are still going outside, and I still have lab in person for one. So there's different protocols. They definitely got really good at figuring out how to make classes and labs safe. And they broke us up into smaller groups. So you may have smaller classes and smaller lab groups. But if it's a class like a lab that warrants being on campus, you're definitely still going to be on campus. As far as like lifestyles go, people still go outside, still go for walks. I still walk my dog there all the time, but you just have to keep your mask on. You can still socialize. And I would recommend, if you can still check out the campus and the town, definitely make a trip up here. There's still some activity.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, again, email me. Like if y'all need anything, feel free. I know it's like an email, so it's kind of weird or whatever. Don't worry about it. We'll try to answer anything you can. And if you want somebody to show you around, let me know. Let's see. And also in terms of COVID, Virginia Tech has done a great job in handling COVID policy. I'd say for me, for the most part, the Corps of Cadets is extremely similar to how it was pre-COVID. We still have formation. We still do cadet things. Everyone's just 6 feet apart, and we all wear a mask. So it's way more similar than I thought it would be. I thought it would be like this huge culture shock where everyone's like really far away or not in-person, things aren't happening at all. Not really the case.
Yeah, I will say that if you're in any clubs or organizations, the only difference is that you don't really meet in person unless it's, under the limit for the state, like limit for like meeting in person outside or anything like that. But that's pretty much it. And then can you apply for science, the College of Science, and then change to engineering school?
Yes, you can, but I don't think it's like they don't switch it super easy. You definitely have to reapply for the engineering school. We're not like the people who are really in charge of that. So I'm sure there's better resources online that could answer that question. I don't know if you guys know.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. It's just a matter of like, that's definitely a good question for the admissions office, and I can post that email if you would like to, because they have more of the stats on how many, like the percentages of people who are accepted into the College of Science versus College of Engineering, if that makes sense, because they do have different requirements in terms of looking at your high school resume and things like that. Can people transfer from a science or humanities major to the College of Engineering? Do they get the same first year experience? Yes, you can. You can transfer in and out of different colleges, no matter, throughout your whole entire college experience. It might, depending on what you take your first year, so calculus, biology, chemistry, those kinds of basics. It depends on those to base off of if it sets you back any semesters or any year, or adds credits, so maybe you take 18 instead of 15 credits, for example. And
Also with that, there are also major specific classes in gen eds. So for example, we have chemistry for engineers, for example. So it may not transfer as well as you'd like it to, though it also might.
Yeah, and then first year experience is a little bit different just because you'll be taking slightly different classes, but that's about it. And if you contact your advisor that you'll get if you get accepted and everything like that, they're really good at helping you out to figure out what the credit transfers are going to be like. And then what's the best way to tour VT if there aren't giving guided tours? We kind of talked about this a little bit. You can do it yourself. There's different videos online that do virtual tours. The Hokie ambassadors do a great job at doing those like virtual tours since we can't go in person. I also have a breakdown of the entire campus and kind of if you are interested in engineering, what buildings you're going to go into the most, or what dining halls you're going to use as a freshman or as a upper grad, and where are the really cool labs located on campus. So again, feel free to reach out to all three of us. We'd be more than happy to help with any of your questions. Awesome. Well, it was great talking to you guys.
Thank you so much for taking your time to listen to us today.
If we could help a little bit. Bye.
Bye.